Well, thank you very much. I'm going to try to get through this. As a lot of my students know, for the past 5 weeks, this is kind of what you've been hearing, and it isn't changing. So bear with me as we try to get through this. I was thrilled when Randy asked if this is something that I'd be interested in doing, because I like to look at a problem from a lot of different angles. And of course, one of the main angles is, if you failed, why did you fail? What were the components of that failure? How did you assess success or failure? And being able to see that and have the guts to basically step back and say, that just didn't work. And that's a difficult thing for people to do, because we're taught so often, just keep saying that you're winning. Even when you're losing, keep saying you're winning. Keep saying it over and over and over again. The only major problem with that is then you lose the opportunity to learn from the failure, because you've convinced yourself that you didn't fail. And so a learning opportunity slips by, and now you're not going to get better at what you do. So I'm going to talk today just a little bit about one of the failures that I've had, because God knows there's a long list to choose from. I was thinking about this and trying to decide how to start this, and I realized that, the question isn't, are we going to fail? Because the answer is yes. Everybody in this room has failed at one point or another. So it isn't about whether we're going to fail or not. The real questions are when, at what, why did you fail, how badly did you fail, because there are variations. But most importantly, the question really needs to be, what do you do next? What's the next step after that? So my failure that I want to talk about today was back in 1990, when I created a miniature golf course. And it was called More Than Fun Mini Golf. And the idea behind it was to create a miniature golf course and to use local landmarks as the actual holes themselves. And then on each of the little tables that you write your score down on, there'd be a plaque that would explain what that local landmark was, hours of operation, things that you could see and do there, to kind of cross-promote everybody in the area. That was the concept. So that was back in 1990. We designed it. We built it literally in my father's backyard. And thank God he was around, because my skills in that area are horrible. Luckily, my wife is actually better at it than I am, so she helped him. I just got in the way. So the idea was a miniature golf course featuring local landmarks with historical descriptions for each of the holes. I thought, how hard can it be to run a miniature golf course? I mean, you hand out balls and a club. So there you go. There is an actual picture of it. There is the Corning clock tower replica that we created. And it's supposed to, it's not supposed to be exact replica, so it gives you the gist. Don't be taking shots. It's as close as I could get. So there's the Corning clock tower. The Benjamin Patterson Inn, slight vertical hold problem on that building we had. You can see it was kind of squished. But it does have that number of windows. I was very adamant about that. Painted Post Indian statue, a little Indian statue that they had in the middle of Painted Post. Went out and found one and glued it to something and said, there it is. Painted Post Indian statue. Very creative. So that's what it looked like. We originally designed this to have it put in Denison Park. Thought it was all set, built it, started moving along. Things were going wonderfully. And the city said no. And I said, really? Because my dad's backyard has 18 holes of miniature golf in it. What am I supposed to do with this? So we had to kind of fall back, figure out what was going on. We relocated to Riverside. There is a picture of it in Riverside. It was ready to go. And the kids came. It's kind of nice. School buses came down, because, see, there's the whole angle. It's educational and entertainment. And a lot of people came at first. And then we ran into a very weird thing called the weather. And if it was too hot, which means if it was over 80 degrees, no one wanted to play miniature golf. It's too hot. If it was too cold, anything below 78 degrees. If it rained any time within a 24-hour period before, they didn't want to play. So we had a window of about 3 days a summer where people would pile onto the course. It was very busy at that point, and the rest of the time I watched my son grow older. Course ran for about 3 years at barely break even, not counting man hours and time put in by myself and the family. We started evaluating what was going on. We recognized that the weather was a big issue. The course was beginning to deteriorate itself, not being phenomenal at building stuff. I didn't realize that it being outside would actually harm it. Evaluation of the time and the effort spent relative to the benefit received, we finally just said, it's not going to work. So we donated the entire course to Watson Homestead and just said, there. Take it. It's the best decision I ever made from a failure right there. In case you're wondering what effect failure can have, that's what I used to look like. That is just pathetic. So to learn, we must embrace failure by considering its various aspects. So we need to take this very seriously. So, for your rigorous intellectual contemplation, some 70s cheese. Yeah, that was my reaction too. I thought that was genius. That's my favorite one right there. He's sleeping with his bike. Really? But there you go. So do we do questions now? That's what we do. All right, questions. Okay, thank you. Oh.
Well, aside from the fact that materials left outside will deteriorate, what did you feel you learned?
Probably the biggest single thing, and I've been a resident at Corning a long, long time, is that you can't depend on the weather here in this area. People are very sensitive. One of the things I learned is that people are very sensitive to what they want to do and when they want to do it. And unless you provide that, and this was a great example of an uncontrolled environment. I had no control over that. So one of the things I learned is that this is not something that you want to do. You don't want to get into, they always say, never ask a question that you already don't know what the answer is. And that's the same kind of thing here. You don't want to put yourself in a position where it is just a complete crapshoot as to whether it's going to work or not. And when you're dealing with outside weather stuff, that really is a big piece of it. So I think, and that, what does that take us back to? Planning, thinking the process through. I was focused on it would be a nice thing and thinking about those nice sunny days when people would be out there, and they were. It's just we didn't have a lot of those. That was the issue. Yes, sir.
Of all things, why a golf course?
In all honesty, breaking that down, it was entertainment, which is something I had been involved in for a long time. So I thought I could take some of the entertainment background I had and apply it to something else. It was also fairly inexpensive to get into that business. It doesn't require a huge outlay of capital. So it was an easy entry into market kind of a thing. So those were probably the two major reasons that I did it. Somebody else? Yes, ma'am.
The whole thing with going to Denson Park, where did that kind of fall off in the communication?
We were told pretty much, well, this isn't going to be any problem whatsoever. We got to a council meeting. I had found out that someone had been very concerned about it being in the park, as well as the fact that there were certain restrictions to what can be in the park because it was donated by someone, and there was a whole long list. And evidently the people we talked to earlier, because we had talked to someone earlier, didn't take that into consideration. And so they had just kind of given us the wink and the nod that it's okay. There's another huge mistake, just assuming that that person was correct. I should have pushed it a little bit farther so that I absolutely had, before I went out and built an entire golf course.
Do you think it would have made a difference in your success, though, if it had gone to Denison? Or?
I think it would have been more successful there. Long term, I don't think it would have made that much of a difference. I mean, I think it would have been more successful, but not by leaps and bounds. Yes, sir. Oh, wait.
She has one right here.
Oh, okay.
My curiosity is getting the best of me.
Why
Why dancing cheese?
what?
Dancing cheese.
Why dancing cheese? When something is really bad, like let's say your mom has an outfit that you really don't like, you would say, wow, that's cheesy. It's not very good. It's kind of, so that's why the dancing cheese. Not that your mom has any outfits that you would feel that way about. We good? All right. Thank you very much.